Solving a decimal word problem using a linear equation of the form ax plus b equals c. So we already know we're going to solve a problem. It's going to have a decimal because it says solving a decimal. It's a word problem, which we can clearly see it's a word problem. A linear equation, which means it is a line. So it means it's changing by the same amount. And then we're also going to have a specific form to our equation. So ax plus b equals c. All right, word problems stress people out. They don't need to. Think of the word problem as your context or your background story. So it gives you meaning to the words. Because if I just give you an equation, like say this one down here, this equation doesn't really mean anything unless I give you a story or context. So it just helps you relate the math that you're learning to something real. So in this case, we have Tony rented a truck for one day. There was a base fee of $18.95, and there was an additional charge of 96 cents for each mile driven. Tony had to pay $174.47 when he returned the truck. For how many miles did he drive the truck? So we're missing the piece. We don't know how many miles he drove, but we do know he has this base fee. So whenever they tell you a base fee or a monthly fee or something along those lines, so it's something you have to pay no matter what, that's going to be the part of our equation that's just a constant. So there's no x next to it or in any variable. So we're going to add that to whatever extra charge we're going to get. So we have 18.95 plus, now we have an additional charge of 96 cents for each mile driven. So that's the next important piece. So we know every single mile he drives, he has to pay 96 cents. So, and they show you down here, make sure you write it as the decimal form. You don't want to write it as 96 cents times x, and we're using x as the number of miles for whatever reason. I would probably use m just because miles, but they chose x. So just make sure when you put it in your equation here that you're using 0.96, not 96, because this means 96 cents. And then we want to multiply that by the number of miles he drove, because if he drove 1 mile, it's an extra 96 cents. If he drove 2 miles, we need to do 96 times 2. If he drove 3 miles, 96 times 3. So 0.96, sorry. So we just want to make sure we're adding the correct number. So that's why we know x, or the number of miles, has to go next to 96. Because then how many 96 cents we pay depends on how many miles we drive. They also tell us that he paid a total of $174.47. So this is our equation. This is what we need to do with our story, is break it down and put it into this equation. And I did the ax plus b equals c, and they kind of flipped it and they did b plus ax equals c. So the only reason I did it in this format is because that's what it asked us to do in the title. Really doesn't matter which one you put first, which you put second, as long as you're paying attention to positives and negatives if you have them. So then we go through and we solve this equation. So they do that down here in the example. So they start trying to get x by itself. So they move the 18.95 to the right side and they subtract. And then they take this 0.96, it's being multiplied by x, so they divide it to the right side. And then we do have access to our calculator in here. So they do all this at once, and they get 162 miles. So this is what we're going to do on the next page here. So we're going to clear this out, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's go ahead through our story. So Melissa purchased a prepaid phone card for $20. So she's paid $20 for her phone card. So we know she's already paid $20. Long distance calls cost 9 cents per minute. So we know we have 9 cents per minute, but remember, we don't want 9, we want 9 cents. So we want to put 0.09 in front of it, and this is per minute. Remember, this is the phone card. This is how much was on the phone card. Already, she already spent $20 on that. So it costs 9 cents per minute. Melissa used her card only once to make a long distance call. If the remaining credit on her card is $15.75, how many minutes did her call last? So we know she started with $20 and she made a phone call, which took some of those away, and she ends up with $15.77. So we need to figure out what are we taking away? Well, we know it's 9 cents for every minute. We need to know how many minutes it is. So we're going to put 0.09, and I'm going to use M this time for minutes. So I'm going to erase this bit just to get it out of my way because I wrote it right in my way. Okay, so now I'm going to start solving this equation, and to solve it, whoops, that was silly. I forgot to change the size of the pen here. All right, to solve it, it means to get this M all by itself. So I want to start moving things to the other side of the equation. So I'm going to take this 20 and I'm going to subtract it from both sides here. And I have 20 minus 20, that cancels. I bring down my negative 9 cents M and my equal sign. So make sure you bring things down that you haven't used yet. And then I'm going to grab my calculator here. Just so I don't have to flip it around in my head, I have 15.77 minus 20. And I get 4.23 negative. So make sure you throw the negative on there. And then the last step to get this M by itself, I want to undo the multiplication. So I'm going to divide by negative 0.09. I'm going to leave the M because I want the M to stay there. So I'm dividing. So I have 0.09 divided by 0.09. Any number divided by itself cancels, and the M just drops down. And equals, and then we need to go back to our calculator here. So we have negative 4.23. It's already here and highlighted. I can just hit divide. And then I want to do divided by negative 0.09 equals. All right, so she made a 47-minute phone call. All righty. And this is back to, they're still prepaid phone cards now, but I know I used to have to worry about this a lot more when I was a teenager because calls and text messages, things like that, were not free. So we definitely had to pay attention to when we sent texts, when we made phone calls, and how long, because we could really charge a lot just by doing phone calls at the wrong time of the day or even text messages. So just a little bit of background on that one. Didn't always used to be so easy. Okay, so now we have, for a long distance phone service, Ravi pays $5 monthly, he pays a $5 monthly fee. So he pays a $5 monthly fee. So no matter what, Ravi has to pay $5. We already know that. Plus 9 cents per minute. So it says plus, we can hear the word plus, 9 cents. Make sure you convert this to a decimal. We don't want to write 9. We want to write 9 cents. So we know it's 9 cents. It says per minute. So right away we can write times M. That means per means times, and then instead of minute I'm putting M. Ravi's long distance bill was $18.23. So we know that's how much he paid. How many minutes was Ravi billed? All right, so now that we have this built, this equation, we need to start solving for it. So we want to get this M all by itself. So we're going to move this 5. By moving it, I mean we're going to undo the addition. I don't mean this addition here. This plus sign belongs to the 0.09. There's actually an invisible plus sign right in front of the 5. So if you don't see anything in front of a number, it means it's positive. And to undo a positive, we subtract. So I have 5 minus 5, that's 0. And then we bring down 0.09 M equals, I'm going to go to my calculator here just so I can get it started. So we have 18.23 divided, oops, not divided by, undo, minus 5. equals, okay, so we get 13.23. And we could have done that without a calculator for sure. That really wasn't a terribly hard one to do. So now what we want to do is we want to undo the multiplication that's happening here. So we're going to divide by 0.09 on both sides of our equation. I'm going to come over here. Oh, first let's cancel this out. So 0.09 divided by 0.09 cancels. M drops down. And I have, so it's already highlighted here, blah, highlighted. We want to divide by 0.09. I'm used to calculators just putting that first zero in there for me. So I started to just type 0.09. It doesn't put the 0 in for me. I have to put it in there. All right. So we have a 147-minute of phone calls. So this isn't just one phone call. He made 147 minutes of long distance calls. It's not necessarily how many, but we know how many minutes he used anyway. So he used 147 and we check it. All right, one more of these. So Caitlin received a $90 gift card for a coffee store. So we know she has a $90 gift card. So she has $90 on this gift card. She used it in buying some coffee that cost $8.34 per pound. So we know she used it. So we're going to subtract something. After buying the coffee, she only has $48.30 left. So we need to figure out what are we subtracting. So this says $8.34 per pound. So per tells us it's multiplication. That's a multiplication word. So if it's $8.34 per pound, what we need to figure out is how many pounds did she buy? Because I need to know what to multiply by 8.34 in order to know what to subtract from 90. All right, so now that we have our equation built, we can start solving for P, which stands for pounds. So I'm going to subtract 90 from both sides. And again, I'm subtracting 90 because there's a plus sign, an invisible plus sign in front of this 90. And in order to undo plus, I need to subtract. 90 minus 90 cancels, which is exactly what we wanted. We bring down negative 8.34. P equals, and then we can start calculating here. So we have 48.3 minus 90 equals, we get negative 41.7. And then in order to undo this, and I can't fit it in here, but there's a multiplication between these two, so I'm going to divide by negative 8.34 on both sides of my equation here. Any number divided by itself cancels out. So it doesn't matter how complicated the number looks. As long as it's the same, it cancels. And then the P just drops down here. So if P equals, we're going to go to our calculator, and we're going to divide by negative 8.34. And the way I put negative in is just simply to click on the negative sign here. If you're on your calculator on your phone, a lot of the time there's this little swap button. It'll say plus backslash negative. And you have to hit that button in order to make the number negative. So let's hit equals, and we get 5. So she bought 5 pounds of coffee. And she spent about 40 bucks on that coffee. All right, 5 pounds, check. All right, we finished another one, yay.